Hi chemistry students, this is your Unit 12 lesson on neutralization and titration. You have been given guided notes. Be sure you have them ready to go before you start this. And remember, you can always pause the video and go back if you need to pick something up. Okay, with that, let's get started. Titration and neutralization. All right, in a previous lesson, we've talked a lot about acids and bases, which are special kinds of solutions. And we've talked about how an acid and a base can neutralize each other. Well, what does that mean exactly? So let's start with neutralization reactions. So, in filling in the notes, neutralization reactions are a special form of double replacement reactions in which acids and bases react to form an ionic compound or a salt and water. Okay? If a strong acid is reacted with a strong base in equal parts, the resulting solution is neutral, or a pH of 7. Now let's just review what double replacement reactions are again and how this applies. So as you recall, I've just said that neutralization is a special type of double replacement reaction. And in a double replacement reaction, you switch partners. You have two ionic compounds that have cations and anions that switch partners, making sure cations and anions pair with each other. So let's look at this example of hydrochloric acid with sodium hydroxide. So we've got two ionic compounds, and we switch the anions and the cations. So in this case, we have hydrogen as a cation and sodium as a cation. We have chlorine as an anion and hydroxide as the other anion. And if we switch partners, the hydrogen goes with the hydroxide. Well, that's just H2O. And the sodium goes with the chlorine, and that's sodium chloride. So that gives us an ionic compound. Now that is table salt, but all ionic compounds have the general name of salt. And so you get an ionic compound. Now let's look at this one. It's slightly more complicated, but still an acid and a base reacting to give you water and an ionic compound known as a salt. So we have sulfuric acid reacting with potassium hydroxide. There's our acid and there's our base. The hydrogen reacts with the hydroxide, but this time to balance it, so we have just as much hydroxide as we have hydrogen, we have to have two potassium hydroxides. So the two hydrogens go with the two hydroxides to give us two molecules of water. And then the two potassiums go with the sulfate. And again, the reason why it's K2SO4 is because potassium's a 1+ ion and sulfate's a 2- ion. And so this would be the proper formula for potassium sulfate. And you can see there's a 1-to-2 ratio between the acid and the base here, but a 1-to-1 ratio or a 2-to-2 ratio between the hydrogen ion and the hydroxide ion. So again, reactions are special types of double replacement reactions that give you water and an ionic compound as their products. Okay, now we can use this to do something, a technique called titrations. And titrations are really good at identifying concentrations of unknowns. And sometimes this is really important, like if we want to know the concentration of something in stream water or the pH of something in stream water, we can use something called a titration. All right, so titrations are used with acid-base chemistry to determine the concentration of an unknown acid or an unknown base. And essentially you go through these steps. Suppose we have a sample of acid and we do not know what its concentration is. We don't know what its pH is. We don't know what its concentration is. Well, we can use titration and the idea that the acid will be exactly neutralized by a base at a certain point to figure out its unknown concentration. So you start with an acid solution that you put in the bottom of this Erlenmeyer flask, and you measure the amount of that acid solution. It's unknown concentration, but maybe we put 100 milliliters in the bottom of this flask. We then add an indicator, and an indicator is something that is a different color in acid versus base. So it will change color at exactly the neutralization point, because one drop past the neutralization point, that unknown acid will be neutralized, and then adding base cause it to become basic. So we can see exactly where it is neutralized by adding this chemical indicator that is a different color in acid or base. Now, this part of this, what you're seeing here, is something called a burette. It's kind of like an upside-down graduated cylinder where we can distribute known volumes of a base. So we take a known base, a concentration we know, and we put it in the burette. And we start adding it to the acid. And we monitor when the indicator just switches over to the basic color. Now, the indicator used in this particular titration was something called phenolphthalein. And so in an acid solution, phenolphthalein is colorless, but in a basic solution, it's this very light purple-pink color called magenta. So you can see that right at the neutralization point, we've got this pale color indicating we've just reached neutralization. So we can use this to determine the concentration of the unknown. So let's go through these steps again. So a measured volume of an unknown acid with an unknown concentration is added to our Erlenmeyer flask. That's called an analyte. That unknown acid is called the analyte. It's what we put in the flask. Then we put several drops of indicator into the unknown acid solution. It will be a colored acid, and it will change color at the neutralization point. Then measured volumes of a base of known concentration, and that's sometimes called the titrant, that's what goes in this thing called the burette, are mixed into the acid. When the solution just barely changes color, the titration has reached its endpoint. And the endpoint is the neutralization point, exactly when the moles of acid equal the moles of base. So the endpoint or equivalence point is when the number of moles of hydrogen ions equals the number of moles of hydroxide ions. At that point, the acid will have been neutralized because we will have neutralized all the hydrogen. We'll have equal amount of acid of hydrogen ions as hydroxide ions, and that will be our neutralization point. Okay, so now how does this work? Let's think about this for a minute, and we will bring in a little bit of stoichiometry. So here's a problem you might have. A 25 milliliter solution of H2SO4 is completely neutralized by 18 milliliters of 1 molar NaOH. So you notice we do not know the concentration of this sulfuric acid solution. Maybe a label has fallen off a container. We don't know what it is, but we have been able to get off of our shelves what is a 1 molar sodium hydroxide solution, and we know it reaches that neutralization point when I've added 18 milliliters of the base to 25 milliliters of the acid. Now, how are you going to figure out the concentration of H2SO4? Well, the first thing you have to do is write a balanced equation. Okay, so we're going to write the balanced equation. H2SO4 plus 2 NaOH will give us 2H2O and sodium sulfate. So this would be our balanced equation, outer, inner, and we have the right formulas and the right balance. Now remember, in an equivalent, in a neutralization, the moles of hydroxide will equal the moles of hydrogen. So essentially, the moles of this base will equal the moles of the hydrogen in here. Okay, so now we're going to have to do a little bit of stoichiometry. I'll show you how this works. So you're going to find the moles of your known. We can do that by using molarity times volume, right, times liters. You're going to convert the moles of known to moles of the unknown using the mole ratio, that 2-to-1 ratio. And then you're going to use the moles of the unknown and liters of the unknown to solve for molarity, okay, of this solution. And then you know the concentration. All right, so let's go through the steps. First of all, here's our known. The moles equals the molarity times liters. For the known, for the sodium hydroxide, we have 1 molar, and we have to convert 18 milliliters into liters. So that's going to be 0.018 liters. This together will give us 0.018 moles of sodium hydroxide. All right. Now, how many moles of H2SO4 is that? Well, here's our stoichiometry. 0.018 moles of sodium hydroxide, and the ratio is 1-to-2. So 1 mole of H2SO4 for every 2 moles of sodium hydroxide will give us 0.009 moles of H2SO4. Okay, so that gives us moles. Well, what's molarity? The definition of molarity is moles over liters. Well, we had this many moles, we just calculated it, divided by, we started out with 25 milliliters, divided by 0.025 liters. That means the molarity of this unknown solution, we can now label it, yay, is 0.36 molar H2SO4. Okay, so again, step 1, figure out the moles of the known. Step 2, via the stoichiometry, figure out the moles of the unknown. And then using the molarity equation of moles per liter, figure out the molarity of the unknown. And that titration has allowed you to figure out the concentration. Okay, now let me show you. This seems very complicated. Let me show you something that is a lot simpler, but let me tell you the reason why. Okay, so first of all, remember, moles of hydroxide at the endpoint equals the moles of hydrogen in the solution. And an indicator is convenient to see when that change occurs because it will change color. But we could have also, in that titration, monitored the pH. And if we monitor the pH, you're going to get this really interesting curve that happens. You're going to be adding milliliters, and you're going to see that, like if, for example, with the sulfuric acid, the pH would have been very acidic. And we'd start adding base, and that would cause it to become less and less and less acidic. But right at the neutralization point, we get this big increase in pH. And we've basically neutralized everything, and then we start adding base, and then it becomes basic, all right? And right at this midpoint at pH 7, that is the amount at the equivalence point. So we get this really interesting curve, okay, when you titrate a strong acid and a strong base. But the indicator is a lot easier to monitor because it'll just change at the equivalence point. It'll change right there to a different color. All right, so now let's try something else. So I want to note that on the guided notes for those of you using in 2022, there's some text below this example that was put there accidentally. So please just ignore that text and just do what I'm saying right here. So the example is how many moles of sodium hydroxide are required to neutralize 0.2 moles of nitric acid. So we're going to write a balanced equation. So here's our balanced equation. Sodium hydroxide and nitric acid, which is HNO3, give you H2O and NaNO3. Okay, so again, inner, outer. And because of the stoichiometry, you can see that the ratio of sodium hydroxide to nitric acid is just 1:1. So with 0.2 moles of HNO3, you got a 1:1 ratio, and that's going to give you 0.2 moles of NaOH. Okay, so this is almost not even important. You can notice the ratio of acid and bases is 1:1. And when the acid-base ratio is 1:1, you can use this really cool shortcut. All right? If and only if you have equal numbers of moles of hydroxide and hydrogen, like we did before, you can use this equation. The molarity of the acid times the volume of the acid equals the molarity of the base times the volume of the base. Because again, equal moles, we don't have to worry about any sort of stoichiometry. It'll be 1:1. So here's an example. How many milliliters of 0.45 molar hydrochloric acid will neutralize 25 milliliters of 1 molar KOH? Now let's see if we can use this shortcut by writing the balanced equation between hydrochloric acid and potassium hydroxide. If you write the balanced equation, you can see that it's a 1:1 ratio. Since it's a 1:1 ratio, we don't have to do the stoichiometry. We know that it's just going to give us the same thing. So we can use this shortcut. All right, so now we're just going to plug in. We've got the molarity of the acid, and we've got the volume of the base and the molarity of the base. So we're trying to find the volume of the acid. So 1:1 ratio, so this shortcut can be used. And we're just going to fill in the blanks. Again, this is just like the dilution equation we used before, only acids and bases instead of initial and final concentration. And again, it's okay to keep the volumes in milliliters as long as they're consistent. So we can put in our knowns, and we're solving for V2. When you solve for V2, you should get 56. And so you can predict that you're going to need more acid, since it's a lower concentration, to neutralize this higher concentration of base. You're getting a lot more practice, and you'll get to practice titration today in class.